Hello, I had a certain idea I wanted to explore today, and it has to do with resistance. I'm reminded of a story. Okay, yeah, I'll start there. I'm reminded of a story that Tony Robbins always likes to tell, where he says there are many cases of people who are driving or traveling somewhere. And for example, let's say a car is driving in the rain, and it starts hydroplaning, it starts sliding around, and it's a wide open road, but there's one tree in the middle. And what seems to be something that very often happens is the car just happens to drive right into the tree and crash into it when there's all this open ground. What happened? Well, it's because in the moment of panic, when the car starts swerving, the instant thought that the person has is, first of all, they focus right on the tree and they say, anything but hitting that tree. And Tony Robbins often asks, like, oh, but what is he focusing on? And inevitably the driver is focusing on the tree. And so that's what they drive towards, and they crash. So that's I'm working through a certain way of thinking right now that I'm hoping to find the conclusion to, and so I'm raising it to you about resistance. About how the thesis I have right now is resistance is never productive. I think I might explore that concept and see if it's true. So, as you can see in that example with Tony Robbins and the driver, the resistance the driver had to crashing into the tree caused the driver to crash into the tree. And another example that was echoing through my mind is some key quotes from the movie 300. And to me, it shows that there is a big gap between resistance, which is like trying to avoid some outcome, and intention, perhaps. Like, we'll say resistance and intention. Resistance is like just that absolutely cannot happen. And intention is that can happen, and I welcome that happening. However, that's not where I'm going. So let me show you the two quotes here. One is who are they fighting against? The Persians. The Persians say, like, you are mistaken. You are completely outnumbered. Why don't you surrender? Don't you understand? Our arrows will be so numerous that they will blot out the sun. And the response is, then we will fight in the shade. And you can hear that this is the opposite of resistance. Imagine if the soldier had responded like the driver responds to the tree on the street. The soldier would have said, like, oh, how can we avoid getting hit by the arrows? Those arrows will kill us. And you can hear that response doesn't help him avoid the arrows. That response actually renders him helpless. But this response renders him the most capable of dealing with the arrows by saying, I welcome the arrows. And here's the second quote. Spartans, tonight we dine in hell. This happened right before they were moving out to a battle that seemed like suicide, right? 300 Spartans against the entire Persian army. And instead of saying, like, you absolutely do not die today, he said, I welcome death. Tonight we will die, and we will die gloriously. You can imagine that a warrior that's like, if I'm going to fight one-on-one with someone, and instead of them saying, I'm going to win, I'm absolutely not going to die. Like, instead of him saying that, he says, I welcome death. And I will I welcome death. And I look forward to dying with honor. And he says that right before he fights me. Terrifying, right? You can imagine, you can see how the lack of resistance doesn't cause that outcome to happen, that unwanted outcome to happen. It, in fact, in a very strange, paradoxical way, it absolutely makes that outcome almost it takes away any chance. It makes the person maximally oriented to avoid that outcome. If a warrior welcomes death, then that warrior is probably least likely to die. I mean, as long as your intention is to fight, right? So I've been thinking about that, and my own ideas, my own situation that is tied to this is I was not very productive today, right? And the whole day I was thinking to myself almost like, oh, it's almost the end of the day. You don't want today to end having gotten nothing done. And I could feel this rising resistance in me that was like, oh, I absolutely cannot have that. I can't just reach the end of the day with having gotten nothing done. And then I was reflecting on whether that was actually a fruitful way to think. When instead, actually, the most productive way to think about it is to not even be on that wavelength of thinking. And I can say, if I get nothing done today, so be it. Or I might even lean into it further and say, if I get nothing, or I'm getting nothing done today, awesome. I'm getting nothing done today, awesome. It's interesting, if I stand in that place, I can see that even if I say that, it means nothing about what I'm going to do. I might, just as in the Spartan example, by moving fully into that unwanted outcome and neutralizing it, I eliminate the chance that it's ever going to happen. I'm getting nothing done, awesome. And I can even add on to that and say, like, oh, I need that day of rest. I'm questioning, like, as we talk right now, I'm questioning the usefulness of resistance ever. Here's another example I was thinking about. Let's say I'm talking to this girl and I like her, and the thought comes up in my head, like, oh, I hope she doesn't just walk away. Like, let's say I'm meeting her and I'm talking to her, and I say, oh, I hope she likes me. I hope she likes me. I hope she doesn't just like decide not to talk to me anymore, right? I hope she doesn't decide to leave. I hope she doesn't decide to leave. Does that thought maximize the chances that she's going to stay? Paradoxically, counterintuitively, actually, the attitude that is most likely going to allow her to stay, I imagine, is how would I say this? You're free to leave. You're free to leave whenever you want. You're free to leave whenever you want. And And I think the ultimate of this is like almost, the ultimate of this is like, it's not even a question, it's not even a thought in your head. Like, it's like, oh, I was just talking with you, and you can stick around if you want, you can leave. I wasn't even thinking about that. Just I think that's like the next level, right? Like, instead of tonight we dine in hell, which is quite incredible of a way to respond to this, it could be just, how are we fighting them? And life and death isn't even considered, which is probably not too realistic, as the feelings of life and death will come up, and if you embrace it, then and then I believe you're probably doing the same thing here. But I'm just thinking about this idea of how resistance is often not helpful, and many times is weakening. It weakens the person. So what does that mean for my situation here about productivity? The thought, if I have the thought, something I can think through right now, I can wonder, is if I have the thought, I'm going to get nothing done today, then my next thought can be, awesome. Good. I needed that rest. And I can feel right now the finality of that thought. I no longer have to hold it in my head. I no longer have to be like racing against the clock. I say, awesome. Good, I need the rest. And then I can put the thought down, and cognitively what could be happening is, now that I put the thought down, I can pick up another thought. I can say like, oh, so how would I solve this problem, for example? Another example of something that could be related to this is, I'm going to run out of money. And I can say, good. That's also a possibility. Good. Then now I can put that thought down instead of trying to carry it around with me all the time. And I can fill my brain with more useful things to think about. I'm going to run out of time. What other things? Yeah. I'm going to run out of time. Good. That also is a possibility. That's a valid thing that can happen. It's a bit of a stoic thing here. I'm going to mess up this video. Good. That's also a valid possibility. I'm going to die not having accomplished anything that I want to accomplish. Good. That's also a possibility. I wanted to explore this idea of, the thesis is, it is never productive to resist, to a resisting thought. And thus, all resistant thoughts, I can respond with good. That's also a valid possibility. I wanted that to happen. And stepping in that direction. And I have no thoughts beyond that for now. Except for, I'd like to find out what the result of that is. And again, this does not mean its intention. Just like when Sparta said, tonight we dine in hell, they did not say, kill us. They didn't say that. They said that's also a possibility, and we welcome that. So let me search myself for any resistant thoughts I currently have. I'm not going to finish all of my experiments. Good. That's also a possibility. I'm going to go to sleep having gotten nothing done. Good. That's also a possibility. I'm going to stay in Korea not knowing what I'm doing and waste a lot of time. Good. That's also a possibility. I'm going to fail my latest project. Good. That's also a possibility. I'm going to eat too much and gain weight. Good. That's also a possibility. I'm going to spend the rest of my time overweight. Good. That's also a possibility. I'm going to embarrass myself in front of that person if I speak Korean to them. Good. That's also a possibility. I'll search for any other ideas. I'm going to waste a lot of my time exploring and never really get anything done. Good. That's also a possibility. It's quite cathartic, actually. It's quite an exercise of release. It's related to the latest book I've been reading. It's called The Magician's Way. And The Magician's Way is all about how treating our thoughts as real and trying to resist them only weakens us. If we can instead let those go and focus purely on the thing that you would love to happen, then you release yourself to relying on your natural ability instead of trying to force it to happen. Just like an example is when I'm speaking English right now, I am not speaking English. I am just letting go and letting the English speak the results that I would like you to hear. And the idea that the book is all about, let me see if I can find it. The idea the book is all about, The Magician's Way, William Whitecloud, is that is a similar idea as this resistance. Focusing on how to do something does not allow you to know how to, does not allow you to do it. Releasing how to do it and focusing instead on what you're trying to do and loving that frees up your entire self to actually do it. After that book, I would like to read this. Mr. Dan Coe is my internet mentor, inspirational INTP. That is still my main focus. I can't really I'm quite surprised at how many ideas have been generated from reading these books. So I'm going to keep going. But yeah, I wanted to explore this idea of resistance. We'll see if I have any other thoughts about it. But that's it for today. See ya.